Barron Ridge Speakers Agency proudly presents Speaker Spotlight, highlighting one of our keynote speakers from across the nation. Now, here's your Spotlight host, Mindy East.
Hi, this is Mindy East. My guest today is my newest speaker, Janice Perkins, who is a personal friend and a business associate in our community. Welcome, Janice. I'm so excited to have you as part of my agency.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, I am too. Well, Janice is a business leadership expert. In fact, she's called the People Genius. So Janice, your company is called Capacity. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
I would love to. The word capacity has so many layers for me. And most importantly, especially in a time like this, I can even explain it better because we have finite capacity and we have infinite capacity. So for instance, you don't ever want to hire me to do your taxes. I'm not good with detail. I have little Post-it notes everywhere. So we all have our talents and gifts that we've been wired to be as people. And we need to understand the limitations that puts on us professionally and personally, and where we bump up against walls of capacity so that we can have just better self-awareness and guide ourselves professionally toward more success and not hinder our ability to succeed. But on the infinite side, we have an infinite ability to increase the capacity of our character and our heart and hope and faith and different abstract things like that. And there is no better time than in a trauma to understand where we have felt limitations and where we know we should increase them. And so for teams and corporations and individuals right now, if you're feeling like tension or anxiety wrapped up around a feeling, it's really great to boil that down to a character quality that I could work on. Is it courage? Is it hope? What is it that is making me feel very tense? And it's something that I lack, that I have an infinite ability to increase so that I can succeed more in a time period like this.
Oh, very good. Wow, that's quite a summary of what you do for your audience. Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, obviously we're all working from home. So what are you doing to stay positive, happy, and healthy?
Quite a few things, actually. And the hardest one for me is letting go of an agenda and not moving so fast. I love going Mach 5. So slower pace is very difficult for me. And not having the interactions with people is more difficult. So, I've done a few things online, a lot more Zoom meetings. I started a podcast, things that I needed to creatively have an outlet so I could have the interactions that my extroverted self needs. And also it helped me stay positive to continue hearing other people talk about their positivity. So it was really feeding on things has been very helpful. And then just being outside more, loving the time with my kids and family, and trying to embrace what I've been learning more in yoga this year, which has been really hard, is to have that inner calm. Accept the moment.
Very good. Well, 3 of your most requested topics are the art of persuasion, tipping the scales, find and balance your capacity, and escaping drama in the workplace. So I take it there's really not a lot of drama in your workplace right now.
Well, I'm the only one in my workplace, so no, not at all. So those topics, because people tend to be their own limitation and get in their own way. And so it's just an exciting thing for me. I love helping people clear a pathway so they cannot be set up for failure. And a lot of times we do that to ourselves. So whether it's drama in the workplace that we get pulled into a funnel around trying to solve for other people, or not knowing how to deal with conflict correctly, that's part of where drama comes from. But then sometimes we also cause our own drama because we're in distress all the time. And that's a natural human function, but it's not a place we want to be in long term. So trying to unravel some aspects of that are really helpful in the workplace, as well as what I call multiplicity. What helps professionally also helps us personally. And the more we learn about ourselves, our engagements with other people also can be much more successful than they were previously.
So that leads into my next question. What can people do while they're sheltering in a safe place or working from home to help create that inertia in their lives and gain momentum so when they do go back into the workplace, they'll be revived and energized and enthusiastic?
I think part of it happens naturally, especially if we sit and rest in the space that's been created for us. So if it's at home versus at the office, we have less meetings, we have less things going on, is to sit, what one of my friends calls sitting in the uncomfortable for a minute, because sitting in the uncomfortable allows us to actually have perspective on situations or things that we were putting off or things that we weren't considering. And those things kind of come to the surface when we sit long enough. So that creativity and that innovation, that perspective change on a particular project or service or something at work going on professionally is an incredibly good view. I tell people a lot in the workplace when we're having a challenge is to change perspective because that changes our viewpoint. Well, we've been given an automatic change of perspective, which is beautiful because it literally geographical changes help us see life differently. So to embrace the challenge of looking at things different is going to be really helpful. And the other most important thing that anyone can do from home and with their team is to stay connected, but to do it from a lighthearted perspective. We all need to be laughing more. We need to make light of what's going on because it will pass. And we need to not be so thigh deep in the trauma and the difficulty long term that it feels like we're just pulling dead weight around, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the shackles. So I think lighthearted meetings, connections, happy hours online, that's why I've been doing On the Bright Side that you joined me on a couple weeks ago, is we just need to pull ourselves out for a minute and connect as humans in the standpoint of if I can't hug you, I can still provide a smile. That's good.
Yes.
That's what we need.
Well, and our little conversation before this Zoom conference, I told you I'd listened to one of your most recent On the Bright Side, and you had a good friend of yours on, and she talked about just accepting this as not right, it's not fair, but it just is. So could you expand on that a little bit? I know it was her thought, but I felt like you brought some great clarity to the table.
No, and she echoed in a different way what a lot of people have said also, which is we can't fight what's happening. And sometimes that happens when we get a diagnosis. Sometimes it happens when things come at us in life that we want to repel and battle against it. And we're not in control of it. So it's like releasing that white knuckle grip on life and accepting that I'm just going to navigate this circumstance versus fight against it. And that helps in that acceptance thing. And it helps my anxiety. It helps me make better decisions and to be more grateful versus being tied up in knots the whole time. I think that's part of what she was talking about.
And I think you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about giving ourselves permission to have those feelings and just process those emotions. And, my kids are raised and you're still raising teenagers, but I had a conversation with my son today, who's 31. And I just asked him, well, how are you feeling? And what is, I detect a little sadness there for people that have, maybe you're still working with somebody in an office space or someone who's at home with their kids. What would you say to them as far as asking those questions as far as what's your mental health today?
Oh, that's really good. I think in the permission of not being what we were before. So before I was a mom and a business owner and a trainer and a speaker, but I didn't do them simultaneously. I stepped in and out of those roles. And a lot of times right now, we're being challenged to do those roles simultaneously, which means we have to let ourselves off the hook of the level we were operating before. So I'm doing the best I can in the moment. And I think sometimes we have to tell ourselves that out loud. I did the best I could today.
Yes.
And today my kids needed me to help with online school more, or today I connected with neighbors and got outside because we were all stir crazy. Whatever it is that we need to give ourselves permission to do, it's to feel whole in the moment.
Well, it sounds like you're finding fulfillment during a time of scarcity. What would your thoughts be on how to move back into that pace? And we had talked about resetting. Do you have any action steps someone can take as they kind of gear up, so when they do re-enter the workplace, they've got a great mindset?
Absolutely. And I think part of it is in taking stock of where I was before this started. And I was talking to another friend who's going to be on my on the Bright Side show in a couple weeks, who was talking about sometimes where we were is not where we want to be or where we wanted to be. So sometimes in business and in our personal lives, this happens also. We're on a trajectory that felt automatic and that we couldn't control the circumstances in. And yet we weren't doing what we wanted to be doing. So it's looking at our passions, our gifts, and our talents, and deciding if we want to start in the same square where we were, or we want to mentally put ourselves in a different place and start on a new trajectory, whether that's with innovation or creativity or a new idea, or it's a side hustle, or it's taking stock of the relationships we're in and deciding if those were the people we really wanted to be in circle with. Because maybe there were draining things happening in relationships also, professionally or personally. And now with the separation, we're filling our tanks more and thinking, why was I so drained before? So it's really taking a look at where we were and where we want to be, so that we can start in the right square whenever we get a go light, that we're not caught off guard.
Oh, I love that. I think so much of life that we don't really give enough attention and emphasis to is the fact that you really do need to succeed at home first. Because if you're not getting along with the people in your four walls, if you're not connecting or clicking with your spouse, that will spill out into everything else. And so I love the fact that there are some entanglements. There could be some relationships that are draining us rather than filling us up, that we need to assess as we move forward. That's a great way to kind of segue into our closing. As far as I know, I've heard you speak on multiple occasions. I love your style, your energy. You're always well received. You engage well with the audience. What is your most favorite topic to speak to an audience about?
So that would probably be two different things. And one is, when you asked me about capacity, the simplistic version, because I always get really wordy, is that I help companies align internal culture with an external reputation. And on that entire continuum, it is helping people get out of their own way and engaging in strengthening capacity. So one of my favorite topics is to talk to leaders about decision making, because all day long leaders are caught, especially right now, in making decisions. And when we understand ourselves and understand our traps, and then we can understand what I call getting in the quicksand for ourselves, and we spin our wheels and we just sink ourselves deeper and deeper. So when I can unlock that magic equation for leaders and helping them make decisions, it's one of my favorite things to talk to a group of leaders about. The other one is for people in general. I love talking to women and encouraging them to be their best selves, and encouraging them to increase their capacity so that they can also understand their gifts and talents. Within our culture, sometimes we suppress certain things for women. And so I love unlocking that equation also.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's perfect. Well, Janice, I look forward to working with you. I adore you. on and off camera. You and I are close friends, and I appreciate everything that you've brought to me. And you will be probably one of my busiest speakers, I'm guessing, because of your capacity to fill a hall or a conference. So if anyone out there is interested in booking Janice for a future conference or event, you can contact me and I'll make sure that happens. So Janice, on a closing note, what is your lesson learned in all this?
My lesson learned, I'm going to read you a quote because it's one of the things that you had asked too, and I really love this. This is from Robert Fulghum, who wrote all the things I really needed to know I learned in kindergarten. And he says that I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge, that myth is more potent than history, that dreams are more powerful than facts, that hope always triumphs over experience, that laughter is the only cure for grief, and I believe that love is stronger than death. And what I love about that is it summarizes, in a situation like this, what we have is hope. We have the abstract things. We have the things that we can control are the things within ourselves: hope, love, faith, good character, neighborliness, kindness, generosity, gratefulness. And this pause has been fantastic to reset that in me, take the hustle out of my life, and make me sit and rest in those things that I can control and give to others, no matter what's going on.
Oh, and those are beautiful soul building virtues. So anyway, I thank you today, my soul sister, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for watching Speaker Spotlight.
Thanks for watching. Please join us next time. For more information on booking a keynote speaker or event MC, contact Mindy East at Barron Ridge Speakers Agency.